Section 1.3 is on collecting sample data. So you can collect data by an observational study, and this is not going to alter the subjects. So for example, if you watch a basketball game and you keep track of how many points LeBron James makes, does that affect how many points he scores in a game? No. We have absolutely no effect on LeBron James just by watching him play basketball. So that's an observational study. Now an experiment does something that alters some or maybe all of the subjects. The most famous example is when a new drug or vaccine is invented, they're going to have to test it out on people. So they do what's called a double-blind study. So that means that the people that are administering the drug, so giving the shot to the person or giving them the pills, they have no idea if they are actually giving them a placebo with no effect, or are they giving them the actual drug. And the people that are taking the pills or getting the injection, they have no idea if they are getting the drug or getting the placebo. That is the gold standard with experimental studies. So you would then see, well, what happened to the people that got the placebo? And of course, there would be some outside administrator that knows who got what, and they would keep track. And then they would see, okay, the people that got the drug, what happened to them? The people that got the placebo, what happened to them? Is there a big difference between the two groups? So that's an experiment. So maybe 700 people took a placebo and 700 people took a vitamin supplement. And they're trying to see if vitamin supplements alter somebody's blood pressure. So by giving somebody a vitamin supplement, you are altering their body chemistry. So that is an experiment. Now, actual sampling methods. So what this means is you've got a whole population, maybe 320 million people in the United States, and you go, that's too many people to go out and talk to. So I'm going to sample 800 of them throughout the United States. Then how do you do it? Well, there's 5 main ways to do it. The best one is random. So out of the whole population, you say, I'm going to choose N subjects, 800 or so, maybe 1,200, maybe 4,000 if you've got a lot of money. And you just randomly choose them. You go out there and say, hey, you were randomly chosen to be in my study. Who are you going to vote for? Or whatever your question is. But that's random sampling. Everybody has an equal chance of being chosen, and they're just randomly chosen. The next one is stratified. So what you do is you first divide them into groups. Like the whole United States, we've got 50 states. So they've been divided into 50 subgroups. You got the 50 states, there's your 50 groups. Now what you're going to do is go to each group, and you're randomly, within that group, you're going to randomly choose some subjects. And it's usually the same number. So you say, okay, I'm going to go to Alaska, and I'm going to talk to 50 people in Alaska. Then I'm going to go to Alabama, and I'm going to talk to 50 people in Alabama. Then I'm going to talk to, what would be after Alabama? Alaska, Alabama, oh, I don't know. Just go to Florida next. Talk to 50 people in Florida. And then go to Mississippi, 50 people. So you go to all the groups and you pick 50 from each. It doesn't have to be 50. Later on, we're going to have some formulas that actually help us decide how many people you should actually interview. Cluster. So again, you divide everybody into groups. So again, we could say the whole United States is already divided into 50 groups. Those are called the states. Then you're just going to randomly choose some. So I'm going to choose Colorado, Oregon, and Vermont. Then what I have to do is go to Vermont and talk to everybody, interview everybody in that cluster. Go to Colorado, talk to everybody in that cluster. And whatever the other state was that I just said. So for those 3 states, you would then go and talk to everybody in each state. That's a cluster. Then systematic. So you would then have a list. So here's a list of everybody that's possible. And I'm going to choose every 5th person. So the first person and then go to the sixth person because I'm going to skip 5. Skip 5 is now 11. Skip 5 is now 16, etc. So you would go like every fifth person, or here I've got every kth subject, whatever that number is, every 10th subject, every fifth subject. That is systematic. And then convenience is you just go, hey Bob, who are you going to vote for? Carol, who are you going to vote for? Hey Sean, who are you going to vote for? That's convenience. You just do what's convenient to you, what's easiest, the data that is readily available. Now with observational studies, so that's where you observe without actually changing the subject. There's actually 3 types of those. One is called cross-sectional. So if you look at the whole population is this group, and then you cut it and look at it, that's the reason it's called cross-sectional, like you cut across it and look at it. But that just means that you're studying the subjects at this one moment in time. So everybody right now, tell me, how old are you? Okay, that's what I'm going to use. So that would be one moment in time, that's cross-sectional. Retrospective, that's studying what happened in the past. So let's go back to World War II and we're going to look at, well, let's go to like 1935 and we're going to look at how much money Germany was spending on building up their army. Wow, they were really spending a lot in the late 1930s. Maybe we should watch out for World War II. That's retrospective. And then a longitudinal study. This is basically going to set up a study that's going to continue on into the future for a long, long time. So for example, in England, starting in the 1970s, I think it was, they got nurses to keep detailed diaries of all of their health-related information, including what they ate, did they smoke cigarettes, how much they drank alcohol, stuff like that. And they did it for decades. And then after those decades, they were able to look at that data and see, well, these people right here, they smoked a lot of cigarettes, and it turns out that they didn't live as long as those people that didn't smoke cigarettes. So that's a longitudinal study.